Hey guys, what's up, this is Swift here, and today I'll talk a little bit more about FIFA 14 on the current gen consoles, and that is the PS3 and Xbox 360. Now, if you're wondering, the PS4 and Xbox One FIFA 14 version will be slightly different. Apparently, the developers have said that there are some new tweaks to the graphics as well as the AI and match engine. So this is just purely for my experience on the current gen FIFA 14 version. Now, there are a few things I'd like to talk about the game, and the few changes that are in the game, the improvements, as well as the few things that aren't fixed from FIFA 13. And I'd just like to put it out for thought. And I consider myself a player, quite an avid player of the FIFA franchise. I've played quite a bit of it, especially FIFA 13 with over 800 games on Ultimate Team, over close to 100 in Seasons Mode, and so on and so forth. So I believe I do know a little bit about the game, but of course I did not play it competitively, so I do not know if it's going to change the competitive scene, if any. So anyway, let's just jump straight into the match engine, because let's just say straight off, FIFA 14 is as per usual, is the increment update, and the most significant changes are basically in the match engine. You're not going to see any more graphical enhancements. There are new stuff added to the game in terms of graphics. No improvement, rather, new stuff, perhaps some kits here and there, as per usual. Your player transfers are done properly, and so on and so forth. So the match engine, yeah, there are a few significant changes to the match engine that are really good, and I would like just to bring them out in case you do not know them already, or are still considering whether FIFA 14 is something that you would like to buy. Now, there is this momentum system and player weight system that is implemented, which is absolutely amazing in terms of realisticness of the game, as well as it increases the skill level. Definitely increases the skill level of the game. Now, the momentum system works in a way that in real life, let's say you want to run one direction and then you're going to change it 90 degrees to another. Now, that is technically, physically not possible to maintain your top speed because you change of direction. But in FIFA 13, this isn't really reflected in the gameplay, but this has changed in FIFA 14. Now, your players will feel a weight to your player, and that is a good thing because it feels much more realistic. So if you're gonna turn directions like 180 especially, you're gonna find that your player is gonna lose the ball, or the ball is gonna be knocked off very far from your body, and that is what is supposed to happen in real life. Now, the other thing that why this adds a whole new level to the game is that players that can dribble really well, you're gonna find yourself exploiting it in a way that you're gonna destroy your opponents who cannot defend. Because if the defender commits in a direction, now we're not talking about committing all the way forward trying to tackle you, rushing to you to tackle. Now we're just talking about pressuring you, and if he pressures you in a manner that he goes to the wrong direction, you're going to beat the opponent rather easily. Now, this somewhat fixes the issue that players are often holding the pressure button and contain button rather, and are somewhat defending well. There are complaints out there which I don't really understand why people are actually complaining about it, but people are complaining that the opponents or other players are holding the X button for the PS3 in a way that you cannot actually attack into the box because you're just containing. Now, so this new momentum system, what it does is that it makes you have this reaction time, so that if you want to play a containing football, as per usual, you're gonna hold your X. You have to make sure that you react to how your opponent dribbles. Now, if he dribbles in a way like to your left, and then you shift your stick to the right. Now you're gonna lose your positioning, and you're gonna let your opponent get past you. Now, so this momentum system, this weight and physical weight system that is implemented is really good. Yeah, it adds a whole new aspect to the game, and it increases the skill level in that manner. Now, the next thing that is really cool about FIFA 14 is the bringing back of the shielding option. Basically, you hold L2 right now, you can actually shield the ball, and it's really cool because you can do like rolling over, and you can bring players into the flow of game, and you can use target man and people with strength much more fluid and more useful now that it is implemented. Now, in previous FIFA versions, I believe FIFA 12 and 11, they do have this shielding system as well. Basically, hold R2, the run button, and you do not shift your analog stick in any direction. You will hold up the ball. But this is totally different now, because the shooting in this game works in an aspect that it adds a whole physical level to the game, where you can actually perform it halfway in game to block your opponent, to shield the ball and stuff like that. Whereas in the previous version, in FIFA 12 and 11, is basically used to to hold the ball in a static position. Now, FIFA 14, so yeah, this adds this physical aspect to the game, which is much needed, because all the while we are talking about pace. Well, although this is not the case, not so much the case for the seasons mode as well as the normal gameplay mode. This adds a whole new level as well, and a new tactical system whereby you can hold up play and so on and so forth, which is very good for players. Now, another thing is that the game overall feels much more realistic, in the sense that now your passes will have a weight to it. Last time, if you put auto, we are talking about auto or semi-assisted, rather assisted and semi-assisted passing and passing power, there isn't much difference in the sense that no matter how much you put a full bar and a half bar, basically they're going to have the same result. Now, in FIFA 14, there is a little bit more control if you're using assisted and semi-assisted, and that is really welcome, and it's not so much control that you feel that you're manually placing the passes and stuff like that, but it's enough for you to create a pass that you envision in your mind. So that is one thing that I like about the new game. Now, the next thing here is that the aiming of the passing, like your through balls and stuff like that, it is slightly improved. I'm not sure why, I'm not sure how to explain it, but you can make your diagonal passes, your passes in space, much more easily, and it works as you think out and conceptualize in your mind. It actually you actually can produce it out in the game. So that is an aspect that I like. Now, the last thing that is so good about FIFA 14 is the shooting mechanics. Now, they have reworked it. If you watch the trailers, that apparently in the previous versions, players' animation will slide into position so that they can shoot the ball. So basically, if you slow down the game, you will see that your player will have a foot, his shooting foot lifted up, and he will just slide into position whereby his animation will take over and he will shoot the ball, which is quite unrealistic. Now, in FIFA 14, what you will see is that your players will adjust and shuffle their feet before they take a shot. Now, what this does is that it adds a whole new aspect to shooting and finding space. Now, you cannot just take a half turn and then shoot and like that and expect so much power and so much accuracy. You will obviously not find that. You're going to find that your ball is going to be either weak or not accurate at all. So that is another thing that is much needed. No, not really much needed, rather is very welcome, and it adds a realistic aspect to the game that you never have before. So some of the bad things, now I haven't tried Ultimate Team yet, but from what I've heard it's still quite pace reliant. So that is one thing that FIFA haven't fixed. Yes, pace is one thing, but it's going to be really horrible because let me just tell you what is happening right now. After I played about 20 games in Seasons mode, got myself to Division 8, and of course the cup that just opened, and I just got myself a straight run through, which I got the championship. The thing is that players, the AI is quite weird. The defending AI is quite weird because the runs that the opponents make, you can still use the L1 triangle. If you're not sure what that is, that's the true lob pass, and your player will be very, very stagnant, and he will not react to such a pass. And even if he does, there's this new locking system that doesn't really work well, so L1 triangle passes technically is becoming worse, in the sense that if your player is even behind, say he has a few yards off the attacker, he will just freeze in position, and if you switch to him you cannot even get the ball because your player isn't locked onto the ball, so he wouldn't even attempt to pass. And this is happening quite frequently, and the only way to counter that is to have a person sweep the ball from behind as per usual. But yeah, this is something that I'm not sure is because of your skill or something like that, but I experienced it more than once, and I don't think I'm that bad to actually have such a mistake. And this is actually something that can be exploited, and I do use that quite a bit, especially diagonal runs here and there. And then you just do an L1 triangle and your guy will be free in space. That is actually quite terrible. And to add on that, if you have pace and stuff like that, obviously you're gonna have a one-on-one chance with the goalkeeper, and you can be really frustrated with the whole defending system and AI. Now the other thing is that the locking on system seems to have changed quite a bit. Now this is good or bad in terms that you have more freedom, but you will have, and I have yet to be experienced enough to know where to position the player such that he will actually attempt to make a shot or header. And that is quite a problem, especially in corners and stuff like that. Your defender sometimes will more or less not locked on, and your opponent have a free header, which is quite stupid. So that's just some of the issues of FIFA 14. It is overall a better game, let's just say. It is a better game. The mechanics has improved. There are some things that remain the same as per before, for example pace, and there are some broken aspects as the AI, defending AI is still as stupid as ever. So that is all I have to say. Hopefully all the goals that you see here are quite entertaining, and you can feel the weight and momentum system in place as well through these video highlights. Now if you have anything to point out, do leave a comment and perhaps I can reply to you. And do wait, and I will post some Ultimate Team videos up soon enough. I just like to wait it out a little bit more while the market settles into a more stagnant market, whereby I can buy pacey players at a cheaper price and not be at a disadvantage. So yeah, that's about it. If you'd like to give it a thumbs up and do subscribe for more of such videos.